Successful Minds with Patricia Barnowski-Schneider, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet. Hear their stories and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success and get exclusive advice on how to implement their success into your life and business. Successful Minds with Patricia Barnowski-Schneider is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Patricia Barnowski-Schneider.
Hey, are you looking to scale your business from 5 figures to 6 figures or 6 figures to 7 figures? If you are, I have the perfect thing for you. What I want you to do today is I want you to go download a book. This book is going to take you through my 3-pillar system. It's 100% free. All you have to do is go to growfast.cash. I say again, go to growfast.cash and you're going to be able to download my free international best-selling book, which is called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. You can take that book. It's going to help you scale your business to the next level. Again, go download it. Be good, be brief, be gone. Growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome back to Successful Minds. I'm your host, Patty Baranowski-Schneider. Today I'm joined by Tenia Davis, PhD and HR expert. So welcome, Tenia. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so thank you for having me. I am Dr. Tenia Davis, and I'm still getting used to that. And I'm an HR executive and HR practitioner for over 20 years. I've worked in many industries: healthcare, insurance, space and defense, tech, and now I'm in the academia.
Jack of all trades.
I had a lot of fun in these different industries. And, and I will say I'm just really passionate about building healthy company cultures, which, it's so funny. I see all these wonderful books and I read through them as a practitioner. And I'll say, that don't work, that works. But it's, I do think it's a challenge that a lot of companies face. And I really enjoy helping employees be their best and also helping organizations thrive. So a journey that I've been on that I really enjoy.
Nice. It is true. You could read a textbook or read a manual or whatnot, but you have to actually, talking to somebody who's actually been in those shoes and knows how to best accommodate a situation. And I think, the past couple of years, companies are learning more and more that you do have to listen to what people say, because, you hate to use the term, but you heard people go postal and whatnot. And, so, if you just hear people out and talk about it and have a specific culture and make people feel wanted and heard, it goes a long way. So I'm glad that you're doing that. Yeah. So now, Dr. Davis, your philosophy underscores the alignment of personal values and professional endeavors. So can you share how purpose-driven leadership can transform both individual careers and organizational cultures?
Absolutely. And, I've seen it up close where organizations are more purpose-driven. At one company, we told stories that impacted the world. And when you have employees that align with that and they're able to participate in building those stories and writing stories, it gives them a purpose, right? I currently work for NORC at University of Chicago, and we're a research organization. And it's exciting, when I turn on the news or read an article and I see a little tagline, research conducted by NORC, and it's research, that's shaping how we're making decisions. And whether it's around education or whether it's around child development or whatever that might be. But when you unpack that and look at the researchers that actually worked on those assignments, you hear the pride and the joy that went into those different studies. So yes, I've seen great output from organizations, for organizations where employees are contributing and being part of the conversation, shaping the conversation around purpose-driven work.
Yeah, nice. I know I was actually partnered with writing some books about, what we have here, the leadership of diversity and things like that. And I
Yeah.
said, especially nowadays, people from all over the world are working all across the US. And, nobody wants to feel like the outcast. Nobody wants to feel unheard. Or maybe your lifestyle choices are different or your religion choices are different. But rather than being looked at taboo, explain what's the difference and how, maybe that's interesting. I'd love to learn more. It's really just giving people a voice to be heard. But then again, in
Yeah.
today's day, too many people
Oh,
have a voice, so we need to scale that back down. But it is for a workplace environment. I mean, it's just so important. And I was in back in the day, many 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 moons ago, where a company, you just stay there, you're getting paid, do as you're told, blah blah blah. You don't have a say, and you just go like robotic, and you don't feel valued in any way, shape, or form.
no.
So helping people to really feel that even if you just made a copy for me, you just saved me 10 minutes. That was awesome. Thank you. It's nice.
Yeah, I think the world is polarized now. I said
Yeah.
this before. Um, it's what I hear from a lot of leaders. I don't know what to say, how to say it, right term, what's the wrong term, and you're looking for that small nugget of kindness to take place, right? I don't think we give each other enough grace.
No.
I think there's just such a race to judgment without really understanding, the other side of the other person, and we can always find common ground if we take time to do that.
Yeah, for sure. It just takes a minute. Like I used to work for a company, and it was actually kind of cool. They understood. I always used to laugh because they didn't pay the greatest, but they had so many other perks. So it's like they had these breakout rooms, and they had actually like a little mini bar in a second for after work, just down, unwind for a minute, a little miniature golf, chit chat with your friends. It was just like made you feel like you were valued there. We understand it's stressful. We want to help you. We're all a team. We're in it together, and blah blah blah. And another company, I was so stressed out. I was working 18-hour days. I had to put together these kits. And the president of the company came in and started helping me. And I'm just kind of like, what is he doing? He's like, hey, we're all a team. I'm here to help. And I'm like, oh my God, how cool is that? But it made me feel like you appreciated me. And you didn't look at me as just some peon on the totem pole. I was just part of your team. And I think people need to really just show people, just like you say, a little bit of kindness. It goes such a long way.
And it's such a big, I think it's like walking the talk, right? To see a leader, especially at that level, come in and contribute, right? I think employees in the workforce today, they want to know that you care.
Yeah.
And, they want to know that you have empathy. They want to know that you know something about them, that you care about their learning, their development. And, those are, kind of foundational. However, if you look back, 5, 10 years ago, and what a leadership style was at the time, it's kind of a big difference than what it is, today, how leaders would engage, right? Typically it was show up, do the work. Okay,
Exactly.
what's next?
Bye-bye. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Exactly.
And now it's different. It's, hey, how was your weekend? And, how's that project you were working on? And it's more of an emotional engagement. And, that had not been the way before for some leaders, for
Right.
some.
Yeah. Even still, oh, your kid was sick. If we have to get this done, you need help to get it done quicker, so you can, something. It's not just like that's your problem, not mine. You're paid till 5. It's nice that they're kind of waking up. Now, you mentioned empathy. So how can empathy and mentorship significantly enhance employee engagement and retention? And can you provide an example from your experience where this approach made a substantial impact?
Oh, absolutely. At another company, and I love this. At another company, life is happening, right? No matter what industry, no matter what company. And there was an employee who, within 1 month, lost their husband and their mother, and like just it was just a weird thing, like all at one time. Great employee, and the employee just needed a break, and then other dynamics were taking shape in society, and the employee said, I just need a break. I don't want to lose my job, but right now I just need a break. And I said, absolutely. We have the resources, right? We have the right support systems in place. And there were some that we did not have in place. And I asked my benefits person to research what other offerings can we provide the employee. And we figured it out. And the employee did take, a couple of weeks just to hit pause. And I think with all the, you have employees that are caring for their parents, you have employees that have parents and children in their home, you have some with different life dynamics taking place. And if we don't figure that out as organizations, as we found out with COVID, people just check out.
Right.
And so, I think it's almost a given that there needs to be some form of empathy, because there's no, I don't see a clear road to just executing without some sort of life dynamic happening. And if it does for some, that's great. But there's a large population of folks that are, just trying to manage many things. I worked with one employee where, they were experiencing, just different mood swings and didn't know why, and needed to kind of just hit break for mental wellness, right?
Right.
There were other aspects of things taking place in other folks' lives where they were taking care of parents that they had not had that level of responsibility before. And so it's all new, right? And so you don't want to lose, your good employees. And, I think organizations are figuring out how to be supportive in a different way, right? You can still get the work, but to your earlier point, you have very loyal employees. And I think it's a great way for organizations to show that they can also be there for the employees that have helped their companies have success.
Right. Yeah. It's like you say, it's a team effort. Everybody, we are all in it
Really
together.
is.
If you can have the greatest company, but if your employees have no clue what's going on, or they're just, trying to rush through something because they got to leave it a certain, it's not helping you either. So do it all as a team, and you'll keep them longer. They'll be valuable.
Right.
They'll learn more. They want to do more because they feel like they're appreciated. It's a two-way street.
And it's just not sustainable. It's really not sustainable. I remember the days where employees would leave because the juggle was too much. Pick the kids up by a certain time, having to take the kids to the doctor, work at a particular time. And it just wasn't sustainable. Or if it was for some, it wasn't a good experience, right? And so I think, in the workplace today, we have a nice collection of backgrounds, perspectives, work experience, age groups. It brings many different dynamics that we maybe did not have to consider before, but we definitely need to consider now. And I think empathy is a part of that, as well as grace, because life is happening for a lot of folks. It might not happen for you, and things might be great, but it's definitely happening for, a lot of people that are in the workplace today. And what I have seen, some people just say, look, I'm gonna hit pause, or I'm gonna try something totally different. Maybe I'm in the wrong place, or maybe I've been doing it too long, and people are reassessing, and organizations are, really focused on retention and how I maintain and keep this collective group that has been able to grow our organization. That package is looking different now, where organizations are having to rethink benefits, right? The benefits design, right? Employee engagement aspects, right? How do you connect in? Do you have the right leaders? Most employees don't leave an organization, they leave managers, right? And so do I have the right leaders that can connect with whatever the employee group is to motivate and inspire them to continue contributing to the organization?
Nice. And I think it's like, because years ago it was always, the employees, it didn't matter what you had to say. They only spoke to the boss. But it's nice when they start getting feedback from other people, because I see a lot more of that. They could be group meetings and everybody's included, and they want to hear from everybody. They don't want to hear just the head honcho. They want to hear everybody in between. And what's your thought? What's your view? And I think it goes a long way, because everybody brings a whole different perspective to things. So, like you say, if you want to keep everybody has to contribute,
Yes, absolutely.
Now, you offer strategies for managing career transitions. So what advice do you have for professionals currently navigating significant changes in their career path?
Yeah, and there will continue to be changes.
Yeah.
There are a couple things. One, I will say, really take the time to soul search and reflect and think through, what am I really good at? Right? Like, what is that superpower I bring to the table? Start with, what are you good at? And what is it that you want to learn? Because sometimes in between, some aspirations might be shorter and then some might be longer. But really do an assessment of what's important to you. That's really what I'm seeing a lot of folks do in their career, is an assessment. What am I good at? What do I enjoy doing? What am I passionate about doing? What really, pays the bills? And then, am I in the job to do that? And am I in the right environment to cultivate that? Right? Because you can have all the talent, but if you're in an organization that doesn't promote you or doesn't provide opportunities, then typically people get disgruntled and will leave. If you're in an environment that supports all the aspirations you have, or at least some of them, then you tend to look at, well, how do I do that? The second part that I would say is, have a plan. It's so important to kind of map, okay, this is what I know I'm good at. Here's where I want to go. So what is the plan to get there? And if you don't have a plan, it's always good. I always say, have a committee of folks that you can kind of touch bases with to say, here's how I'm thinking about things. Am I looking at it in the right way? Or what is it that I'm not seeing? Right? As you create that roadmap, and then work your plan and have small wins for yourself, because when you can reach a milestone and say, oh, I did it, then that helps you move on to the next. But definitely having a plan is important. Having a committee of that are able to give you feedback and have some sort of insight into what the possibilities are, and really self-reflect. I think a large part of that self-awareness, having, the awareness to say, hey, I'm really good at this and maybe not good at that. So that when you think through your development part of it as well, you are identifying the right things that get you in the direction that you want to take. But definitely, kind of the starting point is to just hit pause and just self-reflect. Here's what I know I do well for sure. I think everybody has a superpower to bring to the table. I really do. It's just a matter of, where does that show up to do its best work? And then what muscle do you need to build to continue rounding out your skills as a professional?
Right. No, I mean, that's all great. And I think even having a mentor, because sometimes you need that outside person to be able to see it. Because like I could say, well, I'm good at everything. And they could say, you are, but here's where I see you really, really are, strong. And what do you think about that? And if I could say, well, for example, well, I don't like math, but what can you do with math? You could do 20,000 different things. I didn't think about that, so having like a mentor to help guide you, and not like the one of the things I always tell people is, believe in yourself, though, because I've always had people, you're never going to do this, you're never going to do, you have to believe in yourself, but surround yourself with people who are kind of in your playing field, who know what you are. They're going to tell it like it is, but they're not going to beat down your dreams. They're going to help you get to where you want to go. So now we have a whole new world here with automation and AI and data analytics. So how do you see all of that shaping the landscape of HR practices, particularly in recruitment, employee engagement, and performance management?
Yeah. So that's a loaded question. I'll start with recruiting. I do think that first of all, I love technology. I love automation. I think we're still in the early stages to see really what are the benefits of it. If I just look at recruiting, how I see AI being used today, whether it's through video interviews, there's still the whole part of algorithms and, who's machine learning around a lot of these different tools. And, there's already a bias in recruiting. Now you're teaching a machine, and teaching the machine, you have to make sure you're not teaching a bias in that aspect, right? And so I just think that there's some aspects of it we're still learning, right? For the HR function, I've also seen where technology is helping, right? And it could be like for benefits. I've seen some tools, frontline, like answer basic questions, right? Program in basically your manual information, is able to provide like a chat bot type of lower level questions that are not really complex. And that's always helpful for speed of getting information out. So, and then there's also different tools where AI has been integrated in, whether it's project management or whether it's through different systems. Performance management, I think, is really interesting, where I've seen AI as well, taking analytics and basically pushing out an output of a story, whether it's calibration of ratings or whether it's, calibration of what's perceived as performance, where I see organizations kind of lean into that and work through it. I think like anything else, it's whatever information goes in, it's how you're going to get it out. And I think there's an opportunity to fine tune some of the technology, the tools that I do see, in the future will be very helpful, like any other functions. But you still need the people to, kind of help shape and guide it.
Right.
And my only hesitation or curiosity around AI is, a lot of it is machine learning, and it will learn based on the person that is interacting with it. And we don't have any safeguards now to eliminate bias, right? But you really don't have safeguards to eliminate in-person bias. So I think as it learns and fine tunes, we'll continue to see opportunities. We can, look at what's really effective and what's not.
Right. Yeah, I think with everything in life, I mean, it has some great features. It has some, but you'll have people who will abuse it. That's just the world we live in.
Yeah.
But, I always said it is helpful, but it doesn't have empathy. It doesn't have compassion. It's just point blank. I think for analytics and things like that, it's perfect. But it's funny when I see some people who rely 100% on it, and it's like they don't even proof it anymore. And it's like, it's not 100% accurate.
Yeah,
and what it's funny with it, it doesn't like admitting when it's wrong. Like, I'll never forget one time I was like, it was like a company, and I had to put together an annual calendar of every conference that was going to be tailored around that specific niche so that they knew which ones to go to, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, this is going to take me like a week to research all this. So I was like, okay, can you? And it's like, yeah, big, gave it all out. I could have just passed it on. And I just happened to look, and I'm like, that conference hasn't even been there in like 10 years. That company's not even in business. And then you go back to it like, that's not, I'm sorry. It will apologize, but it will never say you don't know. So it's good and it's helpful as long as people don't abuse it. And if they do abuse it, they have to be careful because it's not 100% accurate.
Yeah. And, it's interesting because I literally had this debate with someone the other day about can AI learn empathy? And, it's interesting. Program, how do I give feedback to an employee that is always late, right? It will give you the script. However, it will not give you the script to ask questions. Well, why are you late? Right? It could be maybe they don't have a car. It could be right, exactly. And so, that's where, not only judgment, but empathy and all that comes into play, because every situation is not the same.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so having, the capacity to understand that, maybe there's something else that, the employee is needing, or, if it is that, then maybe it's a coachable moment. Right. So I think there are many opportunities there. There are many opportunities there, but I'm not opposed to technology. I do think technology offers a way of efficiency if it is used the right way.
Right.
But I kind of go back to, remember when computers first, when we first heard about computers and we thought, oh, they're going to replace us.
Right.
And I think we're working harder than ever, and we have computers, right? And AI is kind of the same. It's kind of the new thing, but it's not perfected. There are flaws. And it still will need some sort of human interaction, to some degree, to no matter how you continue to evolve it. So
yeah, and in everything in life, it could take 10 years or more to see, because like we just had this conversation the other day. Somebody was using one of those vape cigarettes, And I said, I remember when they first became a thing. I was actually at one of the money show conferences. I was there with a client, and everybody has their booth set up and blah, blah, blah. And I remember back then, smoking wasn't allowed. And I remember seeing smoke. I was like, oh my God, they smoke. But it was vape. And it was like, no, 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 this is totally safe. And I was like, wow, that's so funny that they keep. But here we are years later, and they're like, no, 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 it's not safe. So it's kind of like, AI, it's all great now, but you don't know what the downside. I mean, I've seen iRobot. You don't know. You never know. Now tell us, you're a passionate advocate for women in leadership. So what are some key strategies to empower women in professional spheres and support their ascent to leadership roles?
Yeah, I've seen so many organizations do this well. And the first is just recognize that there is a population that needs to, have a service around, right? Understanding what is the plot of the organization, what is the plight of the organization, what are the goals, and what are the right skill sets to support all of that, right? But I think mentoring, the way that I've seen it in organizations that have good scalability, is one, partnering with the right mentor, right, that will provide the feedback, that understands the work and understands the culture, right? Because if you don't understand the culture and you're advising, then there could be some missed opportunities there. But understanding the organization, I think, is very key as a person continues to develop. And I think mentorship in any form is very important. And for women, it's often the cues, it's the unspoken rules, right? And so if you don't understand the unspoken rules, there are a lot of missed opportunities there. But understanding how decisions are made in the organization and how skill sets contribute to the work is very important. I always say there's some leaders that are just really good leaders and they're maybe not mentors. So identifying who a mentor should be is very critical. But most importantly is, how does that person get the information? How do they receive the feedback? And then how do they apply it within the organization they're in? And do they have the right plan for their career trajectory?
Right.
But the candor is very important, right? Understanding the language of the organization and having, good vehicles for, checking in. Is this working? Is that working? And mapping back to the plan so that person has success.
Yeah, I think that's great because, I remember a couple of people I know were trying to get into the line of work that I'm at, and they would always hit me up on LinkedIn. One person actually did their college thesis on interviewing me, and I just and they were like, I'm not going to beat around the bush and tell you how the textbooks say this. This is how it is. This is what you need to know, and this is what you should expect. And they were like, oh my God, I can't believe you were so candid. I love this. Can I keep in touch with you? I said, by all means, and I wish you luck. And if I know anybody, but you just need somebody who's going to be open and honest and help you. I always say I never had a mentor. It wasn't a thing back in the day. And you just had to wing it and hope for the best. And you didn't always get the best guidance because it was a male-dominated industry. The males never really spoke, and the women was all competition. So it was kind of like you were just winging it. So now I always try to give back and help people. And I think a lot more people nowadays are like that. So there's a lot of help out there. So people just need to, don't be shy. No one looks at you as a failure because you're asking a question or because you're asking for some guidance. If anything, I love helping people. It helps, I'm always like, ask me any question, so people just need to know that there's options out there, and somebody who's in the situation will help guide you and direct you and help you. They can say that everything you're doing, that's all cool. You ever try doing it this way? Or maybe this is direction you need to be in, and they're like, I didn't even think about it,
Looking to grow your business beyond 5 figures, 6 figures, 7 figures plus? What I want you to do is go download this book. The title is called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. It will help you grow your business past 5, 6, and 7 figure. Go download the book today, growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash, and download the book for absolutely free.
Yeah.
I think feedback is just key. I think candor is key. Is key. I'm sorry. The candor is key. Sorry.
I know.
And this, and part of the same. Thank you. Kind of the same, first of all, I never say, there's so many folks that have opened the door for conversations for me and have really helped usher me through my career. And women that, I always say that are open and, kind of just see it as, look, open road. We all have a seat at the table. I have found, those individuals to be the most inspiring actually, because, they want you to do well. They want you to show up strong, right? And they understand the value of community. And I've had some wonderful exchanges that way. And when folks come to me, I'm very quick to say, okay, right. I don't have all the answers, but I'll try to help you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that goes a long way. Makes somebody feel appreciated, makes them feel heard, and they're not afraid to ask more and more and more. And, it's a win-win in the end.
And if it's out of my house, then, I try to help them connect with someone. And I think that's really an important aspect of it too, is you really know where your strengths lie and know where to help them navigate. Because it's outside of my wheelhouse, I will say, let me try to connect you with someone I think has more information in space. And then I always try to understand, like, tell me about your organization, tell me about the team so that I can, advise in the best way.
Right.
Because some organizations are a little more different than others. And, but for the most part, I think it's just, I think it's, when I look at leadership today, it's how I look at it, leadership. It's like we're almost accountable to that, right?
Yeah.
And I look at how I've kind of been able to progress. And, thank goodness I had people along the way to say, hey, Tenia, think about this, or hey, you might want to think about this differently. In the meeting, you said this and that. And you're like, wow, yeah, I didn't think about that. I never would have known that.
Yeah.
And it really helps build the muscles that you don't have.
Right.
Right. But now, it's.
No, that feedback's huge, because I've said stuff where in my head, I know exactly what I'm saying, and somebody else took it a different way. And they were like, oh, is that what you meant? And I'm like, all right, so now I have to understand, I have to explain a little different, because in your head, you just assume everybody knows what's going on up in there. And that's not always the case. So,
right.
Now tell us, what are some of your top strategies for creating a positive and productive work environment that fosters employee well-being and professional fulfillment?
It kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, empathy, really taking the time to know your team.
Right.
And it's important for me to really understand the different nuances of the folks that are in the group. Right. What are your motivators? Everybody has different motivators, right? What are your motivators? I truly believe that people show up to do their best work. I really do. And now how they get it done and the environment that is created for them to do the work is always where the question mark is. And I try to demystify that. And like, this is how you succeed. This is what the organization is looking for. This is how we support the goals and the mission. And I like to, of course, have fun. And, you build reward systems in a way that the team can respond and relate.
Right.
But that's very, very important. And also, having some sort of career plan for your team. Everybody wants to know, how do I get promoted, right?
Yeah.
What is that career trajectory? And I think that's very important, because that's also a motivator. And so demystifying the promotional process, demystifying how the organization communicates, and also share with the team a lot of those, hidden or quiet, or however you want to describe it, norms that take place, so that they don't have a lot of stumbling blocks, right?
Yeah.
Because that's typically where people kind of get disenfranchised, where I've seen not understanding the culture, the company culture itself. But I think for leadership today, in order for us to really get the best out of our folks, is really to understand them. And when you understand your team, when you understand what the organization is looking for, creating those reward systems in there for the team, whatever that might be. For my team, we've done bowling, we've done we celebrate wins, we celebrate anniversaries, we celebrate, you look for where people want to be celebrated, right? And, they're not really big things, but on the grand scheme of things, they aren't, because you're recognizing people at different points of their career, and you're recognizing their efforts,
Right.
and people feel that you see them. And I think what's most important is to create an environment where people feel they belong and where there's inclusion,
Yeah.
because we bring many different talents to the workplace.
Yeah.
And if people don't feel they belong, if they don't feel included, then you're really not going to get the best out of that person, and they tend not to stay.
Yeah, I mean, we've done good. We had each month, everybody whose birthday was in that, like we had a big calendar, everybody's birthday that month, we'd celebrate it. Like the whole company would celebrate that month's birthdays. Then with all the different nationalities now, so everybody has their own cultural difference. So do you have a specific holiday you celebrate? Is there a specific dessert that you like? Bring it in and share and tell us the story behind it, so it makes them feel like, they want to know more about me, but I'm interested. I'm thinking this is cool, and you're sharing, but it is a way, because you always think about it. You spend more hours in the workforce than you do at home. So this is your family also. So you want to make everybody feel part of the family, that they're loved and supported just like they would at home. Because literally you go home, you eat dinner, you go to bed. You really, you spend 8 to 10 hours a day at the office and 2-3 hours at the house. Yeah.
Yeah. And then also, I think it builds a rapport, right? Because I mean, there are those times where you have to provide feedback.
Right.
And where I found if someone might not like your message, but if they have trust, then they're more open to listen.
Right.
I like to say constructive insights, because that's really where it's more of a conversation. You kind of walk them through, hey, this worked well, but we still need to focus on XYZ to help people. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if they know, like they know what your plan is. I mean, some people are just content to just do the job they have and that's it. They don't want to work more. They're just content, and that's fine. But someone else who wants to move up, it's helpful because now I know where you want to go. I'm going to help you try to get there, but you need to. I have to perfect what you're doing now before you can move up the ladder, and so it's a win-win for everybody. And it just makes people feel they're heard. Yes. Now, can you elaborate on the principles of people-centric leadership and how they can be implemented effectively in various organizational settings?
Yeah, and so it's really interesting. I know a lot of companies use it, and some companies feel it's a buzzword, but people-centric basic is when you look at your products and your design of many aspects of whether it's benefits or whether it's engagement or is it with the employee in mind, right? And so are you looking at, benefits that support the body of the organization? Does it communicate, are you communicating those values around whatever the product is? Or are you communicating how and why the employee should care about it? And then also engagement. I think engagement is just such a large, part of it. When you onboard, are you looking at getting to the work itself, or are you looking at how do I onboard this person to understand my business, to understand where they fit in the organization, to understand where they can go for resources and support? That's all part of having a people-centric environment, looking at how you create different tools, initiatives, and products that support your employees, right? And I see a lot of organizations getting so much better at this. And at the end of the day, employees just want to know that whatever is designed has them in mind, right? So if we have a town hall, then how are we communicating out so employees feel connected, right? If we have a benefits design, are these benefits supporting the population of employees that we have, right? If it's an organization of particular demographics, do we have the right training programs in place where they feel they can participate, right? That's having the employees in mind. And, if it's in an environment where, the social community connection is important, do we have the right outlets for that, for employees to participate, right? So when I show up as a new employee, I should know here are the things I can volunteer for. Here are the ERGs I can connect to. Here are the benefit plans that will support my lifestyle. And here are the right development programs that will support my career trajectory, right? I should be able to align to those different things to say, hey, as an employee, I feel I am part of this organization. So that's having more of a people-centric in mind people-centric focus in mind that also aligns with the business. Where I've seen it not have success is all these different activities, people, pizza parties and all this other stuff. And it has nothing to do with the business itself, and it has nothing to do with business trajectory, right? Instead, understand why are we here in the first place? What is the company goal, mission? And then all the things that align under that, all the things I just described. Do we have the right systems, tools, practices in place where employees can connect in and feel that they are part of this organization to thrive and do well? Right. And when it's holistically built that way, that's what's in it for the company. The employees feel alignment, supported, and they feel there's inclusion and they feel they belong, right? However, the construct of it all is supporting the greater good of the organization as well as the employee.
Yeah, I mean, this is all great. And I think some companies have come a long way, but so many of them still have a long way to go. But I think little by little, they're starting to realize, like, I see certain companies, they'll have the sexual harassment courses or the anger management course, things like this. They're starting to understand that unless you're 100%, you're not helping me. So we want to be 100% together. So they're taking baby steps, but I think eventually people will start to really see the big picture. They're part of this family.
Yeah. And organizations are also, if I can have an end to that, they're starting to realize that they have to hold leaders accountable. Yeah. If you have leaders that create, that micromanage and create, division in the organization, then, that's not the place for them. I think organizations are being more proactive now because they want to have, a good employee base. And as I mentioned before, most employees don't leave a company, they leave leaders, right? And so, to have an employee-centric environment, you have to look at the leadership that is part of setting the tone for that. And that kind of goes back to what you were discussing, the training around, various topics. Yes, that's a given. However, if organizations don't really model the behavior of the things that they release in the organization, like the different trainings, you will lose people that way as well.
Yeah. I mean, just check the reviews online. I mean, some people, when you start checking a company, you see some of the reviews. It's like, all right, that'll tell you right off the bat, do I really want to work for this place? But a lot of them will praise them and say that I've never felt more welcome. I mean, it's almost like Google reviews. You want to make sure everybody's in line, and not everybody's always happy, but you want to make sure you're doing the best that you can to, make everybody feel part of it. Now, tell us, what trends do you foresee in the future of work, especially concerning the evolving role of HR in a technology-driven world?
I see many. I think the future is around, workplace dynamics. How do you continue to support a hybrid, environment? I don't think it'll ever go back to a Monday through Friday for organizations, but it will be some sort of, in the middle. And I think that will slowly start to transition because organizations are finding it difficult to build community, to build relationships, to develop their teams, especially if they have, a cycle of new people, a continued cycle of new people. So that's one. And then the other, I think will be around how we use technology. I do think there would be a huge influence on how we integrate it into our day-to-day. And that will mean retooling our workforce. So I think there will be some degree of retooling to support the technology that is moving extremely fast. And also, how do we have, what is the work culture of hybrid versus not? What would that be? I think so morphin, there's this tension. Is it 3 days, 4 days? Is it 2 days, no days? And so I think organizations are trying to find that happy medium. So I think that would be the topic, as well as how we look at retooling just in general. And as a lot of companies have not really focused on that, I think that would be quite a few. And then the last is benefits design. Our workforce is far more complex. I never thought I would see, benefits for pets, but we have them.
Really?
And,
I did not know
you
that.
know, I mean, there are benefits for pets now.
Okay.
But I do see the benefits design becoming, a little more, not challenging, but I do think there will be many opportunities for organizations to look at their benefits designed to support their employee population. There are a lot of employees that are caring for their parents, or elder care support, benefits. I'm seeing a lot of conversations around that, as well as just around medical uh, claims utilization. There are a lot of wellness aspects that are being integrated into benefits design as well. So, I think there are many challenges that will come up here soon and that are currently part of discussions, how to continue supporting the workforce that we have.
Yeah. It's crazy because
And we have
everybody,
an aging population as well.
that is
So that's
true.
another part of it.
Yeah. It's going to the store. Like I always said, everybody, retires. If I go to a supermarket, well, first of all, it depends where you go. Most of them are all self-checkout anyway, but there is a few that have, and they're mostly elderly people there because they can't afford to live
Mhm.
off Social Security anymore. So many of these
Yeah,
people
yeah,
way past retirement age are still out here working, and
right.
trying to get some sort of supplemental. So yeah, I mean, I'm all for, evolving and changing with the times and learning what's new, but there's a whole slew of things out there that I
Yeah.
wouldn't have even thought of, but yeah, all important. So now tell us, how can leaders at all levels develop and nurture a leadership style that's both effective and aligned with their personal values?
I'd say start with your personal values first. I mean, I think that's just such a personal journey for folks.
Right.
Um, I tend to start with my values first, and I look at the organization to see if it's one that, I feel I can thrive and be a part of. And I think, well, at least when I talk to a lot of leaders today, that's really where they want to start is this an organization where I can thrive? It's so funny. I know when I originally started my career, it's like, I just want to work at this company, right? I want to work there. And you didn't even think about value. You didn't think about those kind
Yeah.
of things. But right, it's like, I just want to work there, or I just want a job. I don't hear that as much. I hear, what does the company do? What do they stand for? What is the company culture? Going through the interview process with different candidates, they want to know about the company culture. They do their leaders. They want to know, who looks like them, and so these are just different questions that typically did not come up, either in the interview process or just in conversations. And so I think values is a big part of it. People want to know that they're in an environment or cocoon where they can thrive,
Right.
right? And in order for that to happen, there has to be some form of alignment. It used to be, you align with the company. It's now, the company, as the candidate is interviewing as the company is interviewing the candidate is also interviewing the company.
Right.
So values is very important to me. It's important that I'm able to show up and I can be authentic and, contribute and add value. But I also want to belong to the environment that I'm in. And, if that doesn't, take place, then, it's not an organization that I want to be in. I've always been in an organization where I've been able to thrive and contribute. And I've worked with side by side and for some phenomenal folks. And I think there's a common theme in those characteristics, and that is, they create space
Right.
for that to take place, and the values were shared. And I think when those things line up, then you are in the right place.
Right.
When they don't line up, I would say don't force it. Either it's for you or it's not.
Right.
And if it drains you, I always say if it drains your soul, then it might not be it might not be the best place. I don't want to show up every day to a place, give my best and my all, and it not be a good fit for me.
Yeah, I mean, actually, everything you're saying here makes total sense. And it is funny how, well, yeah, you definitely want to be in a place like if I'm in a place that just like, it's ironic. When I first had my first job, I worked with a bunch of women. No one had kids. Here I am. I had one son, pregnant with my son. They didn't even have a maternity plan. They had to create one. Nobody sympathized or cared what I was going through because they just never lived it. But I needed the job. Like, times have changed, obviously. But it helps you to understand, like, obviously you're not sharing any of my values. It was just a job I had. And it's funny how you say back then I needed a job. And now I knew a kid who's 19 years old, got this job. First question out of his mouth is, does it have 401k? And I'm like, do you even know what 401k is at 19? Oh my God. But the times have changed, and people, it is true. They're interviewing each other. I think it's funny, but it's actually good, because you want to make sure if you're going to invest your time into a place, you're going to get something out of it too, aside a paycheck.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I think it's all about. It kind of goes back to your original question, purpose-driven work.
Right.
And, that's just very important to me at this stage of my career. I want to contribute and be part of something bigger than myself. And, I want to help leave a good legacy of work and enjoy what I do and enjoy working with the folks. I want to learn from smart people, and,
Right.
I don't want barriers put in front of me or go through unnecessary changes, just to do the things that I love. And I want to help people do their best, and I want to also learn from them and do my best. And I think that's really what, the fundamentals of all of this is. People just want to show up and do a good job,
right,
and contribute.
And be appreciated.
I mean, that's really,
yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that's just the foundation. Now, how that gets done. And I think that's what people are evaluating. At least, and I know just personally, that's why I say I think it's a personal journey. That's what I evaluate.
Right.
Do our values align? And if they don't, then they don't. But and if they do, then that's great. You're in the right place. And I've seen great output because of that, right? But I've also seen the opposite side of it as well. And trying to fit into a place where you're not valued, and you don't feel you can contribute. Eventually that will
fizzle
die out.
Yeah. Now tell us, what advice do you give to aspiring leaders, particularly those in HR and leadership development, to navigate their personal journeys with integrity and passion?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I would say have self-awareness, be open. I think lack of self-awareness is just, I think it can cripple someone's opportunity to learn. And I would say be open and agile. In the workplace today, there's so many different things taking place. Yesterday is not the way we're going to be today. Have curiosity to understand and learn. Someone asked me, I don't know if someone can learn empathy. I think life teaches, many things. Situations teach many things. But what I have seen is where leaders are open and have care for learning, they tend to be more open to empathy, right? And that's not exact, and that's not a science, and that's not proven, but I think it's just a journey. It's an individual journey,
right.
And I tend to take a different approach. I want to contribute in a broader scale, and I've seen leaders do that, and so they do take the time to understand the landscape that they're in, and helping people helping people, setting them up for success is very important, right? And so you're able to connect in differently. If I'm vested in your success and I'm helping you map that out and supporting and champion and being your biggest champion, then yes, I will have a different interaction versus standing on the sidelines watching, right? So I'm seeing more of that in leadership, not being afraid of someone's success, kind of like what you were describing earlier. You're the only one in the workplace, and However, if someone were to say, listen, I don't have kids yet, but how can I be supportive to you? That's a totally different interaction versus, just watching you try and navigate and figure it out. Uh, I think that style of leadership is changing, or is not being recognized as the leadership for today. I think the leadership for today is requiring leaders to be empathetic, to be open to learning. I thought one of the smartest things I read a company, they do teach backs where, the junior folks are teaching a skill to the more seasoned professionals.
Nice.
And I thought that was just the smartest thing. It just totally wipes down the titles and just has an exchange of information, which creates, a stronger integration of information, but also just an exchange, and that builds in humility and everything else.
Yeah.
So, and it's okay. It's okay for the teacher to show up as the student sometimes.
Yeah. I love,
Yeah.
I love that, because I remember being on some business calls with some younger generation, and they're talking about, I keep up with the times and everything, but they're telling me ways that they find information. I'm kind of like, wow, I'd never even heard of that. So you learn from each other, and it's what, at the end of the day, the company is who we're all want to see succeed. So it's good. I love that. I think that's awesome. Now, anything else you want to add that we didn't talk on yet?
No, I have a book coming out in
Nice.
a couple of months, and it's all about feedback. I took the topic that most people, like in general, is universal. I haven't met a company yet that likes performance appraisals and giving feedback. And giving feedback. And so I'm really excited. I kind of poured in everything that I've heard, learned around feedback, and created a model easy for people to follow. They don't have to read 20 pages to get to it, and steps help them provide feedback in a healthy, productive way with their teams.
Very, very nice. I think that's awesome. Like, I always did perception studies with clients. We did it anonymously. And, we talk to their customers or whatnot and get valuable feedback. And they would be like, well, who said that? We're not telling you. That's not what it is about. They would have never told me this if they knew I was telling you who it was. But it helps you see from the other side what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, what you could do better, and make it all work. Nice stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Now tell us, how could people learn more about you, find you, and all that good stuff?
Oh, wow. So I'm on LinkedIn, of course. And I do have a personal website, The Leadership Wise, and that's THE Leadership Wise. And of course, I'm on Instagram with the same, The Leadership Wise. So, and I do respond.
Very, very nice. Well, thank you again for being on the show. Again, that was Tenia Davis, PhD, a business, the HR professional. So thanks for listening to Successful Minds with Patty B. Never miss an episode by subscribing to the channel. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Hey, we all want to scale our business. Hey, I have the answer for you today to help you do that. If you're looking to scale from 5, 6, even 7 figures and beyond, book called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. I'm going to give it to you for free. All you have to do is type in growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash, and you can download the book for absolutely free. I hope the book helps you this year. Take your business to the next level. Again, go grab the book, growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash. I wish you the best, and grow, scale, and win.
Thank you for listening to Successful Minds with your host, Patricia Barnowski-Schneider. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we'll see you on the next episode.